Well, look who's here. Perry is here. Perry is here once again. It's nice to see you, Perry. We're not going to talk about planting outside as of yet. We'll be there soon enough. But right now we're going to stick to indoor plants, and specifically we're going to talk about watering plants, which is, I mean, it's a huge deal because, I mean, you either do it right or you do it wrong, and that could have a huge impact on what the plants are going to turn into. Let's talk about drainage. How important is drainage when it comes to your indoor plants?
Well, actually, it's one of the most important things. A lot of times I'd say that when people are considering indoor plants, like you mentioned, watering is sort of the one thing that may be apprehensive, or people just don't know how to do it properly. And you know, selecting the right pot can go a long way to making that easier. And it's really important. You know, typically the thing about pots, a lot of times, you know, when plants will come, they'll come in a typical pot like this, where you'll see it's sort of just, you know, a generic sort of plastic pot that's used for shipping, maybe a good starter pot. It doesn't offer a lot in terms of decor and things like that. So I've got a bonsai plant here, you know, decorated for Chinese New Year, of course. And one of the things here we'll notice is a little bit nicer pot, a little more contemporary in terms of style. But what it is it's actually just the plant pot, and the plant itself is just set inside it. So you can see it's just like that. So it actually holds the moisture when you're watering it, but still provides a little bit of a space. And so the pot itself in this regard actually kind of acts like a saucer, because you don't want it sitting in water. A lot of the plants, while, you know, tropical in nature, most of the time in indoor plants do want some moisture. They don't want to be sitting in water often, and so it's important that the water drains and again doesn't sit in the pot.
What about rock? How important is it to put a rock at the bottom of the pot?
Yeah, a lot of times people think having rock in the bottom helps drainage. It really doesn't. I mean, you need a hole in the pot, having again selecting the right pot. If you add rock, the water's just going to fill that space anyway, so it's really a waste of time to put small rock in the bottom of the pot.
Now, what about the kind of pot? I mean, I know you look at them for decor and for beauty and that type of thing, but does it really matter with respect to how well your plant will do?
Yeah, what we're actually seeing right now is I brought here, this is kind of a specialized orchid pot. You'll notice it's got holes all the way through it. It's actually, even we can show on the bottom here, you can see there's a little drainage hole in the center. And it's sort of built-in saucer, so it gives you that decor side, but this actually acts as a little bit of a water reservoir as the bottom. So as you water through, it just goes and stays in the base. And so if you have a little bit extra water, you're not going to overflow and make a mess at home, which is always nice. And again, some of that water will wick back up into the soil as it dries out. So it's kind of a great way to do it. And again, with this orchid pot, it's really cool because it's something that for orchids maybe people don't know, but orchids are epiphytic, which means, you know, if you see them usually in Southeast Asia or different areas of the world, tropical areas, they'll actually grow on other plants. They're not parasitic. They don't, you know, steal nutrition from those plants, but they actually use them just to latch onto. Okay. And so they prefer some light, some air. They don't actually grow in soil. And so it's important to understand that. And so by providing a pot similar to this, and you can pot it up one to the other, it actually provides a really good medium for it to grow in.
So, you know, because my first concern when seeing a pot like this is that the soil is going to come out the side with all those holes.
Right, but that's not actually the key. So what we see with, I've got a little bit of orchid media mix here with me, and it tends to be more of sort of a bark and, you know, perlite, sphagnum moss kind of thing. And you can see that that actually is quite, you know, coarse. And again, to allow air, water, these sorts of things. Orchids actually take that out of the air. They'll actually get their moisture and nutrition out of the air, rain, again, in nature, and that kind of thing as well.
What else do we need to know about orchids in terms of just general maintenance, and maybe when's the time to repot them and that type of thing?
Yeah, so Phalaenopsis orchids is what I've got here, and they're some of the easiest to take care of. They're beautiful. They actually bloom for, you know, 2 to 4 months, so you get a lot of bloom. Usually once or twice a year, so actually quite a bit of blooming time. So one of the things to look for, you know, again, I've got one here. And this orchid in front of us, you can see, doesn't have flowers on it anymore. So while it's flowering, you don't want to repot it. When the flowers go, you're in between flowering periods, kind of like this one is. And what you're actually going to do is when you pop it out, I'm just going to slide it out and we'll think of some of the things we'll see here. But you can see here, when I show the roots are kind of sort of fading a little bit like a lighter cream color. We'd like to see them a little bit more of that green color. And so naturally what's happening is this, you know, the sawdust, the sphagnum moss, if you will, sort of getting compacted, not allowing as much air as we'd like to see into the root zone. So what we're going to do is sort of peel some of this stuff away, and by transplanting it again into a pot that's about the same size, you know, we're going to plant it into this, and adding some new bark and things like that, we can actually create a lot healthier, you know, root zone and plant area for the orchid. And then it'll start to bloom again, you know, in a couple months or whatever.
I'm just looking at all the pots you have here, and some have holes, some don't. But the way you describe the root system and what it requires, you're almost better off having the holes so it has access to the air.
Yeah, for sure. A good starter pot when you get it is fine, get it going. But when you're looking at repotting, moving into a plant pot with holes, again, it's going to be sort of more like it is in its natural environment. It's going to do better, and invariably we want to have it flowering and looking beautiful, and that's really going to help for sure.
All right, thanks, Perry. For more great ideas on how to make your yard or your living room the showpiece of the neighborhood, you can check out Ellerslie Gifted Garden. They're located right at the corner of Ellerslie Road and Calgary Trail, just across the street from Classic Landscaping. For more information, call 780-988-9888. You can visit them online at either classiclandscapes.com or ellersliegift.com. They also have a Twitter handle that is up on your screen. We're back after the break.